Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to watch a video today. Today I'm with State Senator Sharon Hewitt, District Number
1.
And as you guys know, I interviewed Danny McCormick the other day. He was number 1. So how does that work anyway? How they would start these numbering of these districts?
Well, I like to joke and say I'm number 1 because I'm the best senator.
Ah, I like that.
But actually, they start numbering the Senate districts in southeastern Louisiana, which is the area I represent. The House districts start up in northwest Louisiana, which is where Representative McCormick lives.
Yeah.
So I represent St. Tammany, St. Bernard, Plaquemine, and Orleans parishes. I live in Slidell.
Oh, I didn't realize it went down that far.
I pretty much think about from the Mississippi River to the Mississippi state line. So I have a very diverse district. It's very large geographically. I have lots of fish and oysters in my district.
Can we register them to vote? No.
Why not? Why not?
Louisiana, they should. Well, I want everybody to watch this video closely because after we go through some basic information, I ask everybody, Senator Hewitt has some legislation that I think everybody needs to hear. So what is your background before you actually held office?
I'm a mechanical engineer by background. So I grew up in the oil and gas business. I was an executive for a major oil company. I grew up on a drilling rig is how I started back in the day. And then fast forward, through my career, I was managing, billions of dollars of assets and had hundreds of employees. About 10% of the country's oil and gas production came through my division. And so those are my roots, born and raised in Louisiana, left that job, which was on fire, to basically come home and raise our 2 sons, and got to do all the great things that moms do to help make our schools better and all the community service work. And then, when they went to college, I began thinking about what's next for me. I call it Chapter 3. And just felt this huge pull for public service. I mean, no one in my family had ever been in politics before. It was not anything I'd ever considered. But I felt like if good people didn't run for office, we were never going to fix the problems in our state. And engineers are good problem solvers. And so I decided to run for the Senate because I thought it was easier to get 38 people to agree with me than 104 in the House.
Exactly.
That was my big strategy.
Yeah.
And it's been really a lot of fun. I'm in my 2nd term now, and really feel very honored to represent the people in my area and have such great hope for our state. And there's so many things left to be done.
You see, I love not only your qualifications, but I mean, you really are kind of an accumulation of everything that is Louisiana: oil and gas, family, southeast Louisiana. I mean, that really is something that's really great about it. So what was your passion that made you run for office?
Well, really, I honestly just felt like our state was heading in the wrong direction. We were just going down the wrong path. I knew, as everyone knows, that Louisiana did not do well on many of the rankings, no matter which ranking you're looking at, whether it's education or quality of life, economic prosperity. All of those things are challenges. And so I felt like, having an opportunity to make an impact on the state level, I could help more people. And so there's an unlimited number of challenges, I think, for our state. So the challenge for me has always been, looking at what are the biggest priorities and how can I make the biggest impact. And so I have focused a lot on fiscal issues. When I got elected 5 years ago, it was all about the $2 billion, fiscal cliff.
And we're headed for another one this session, from what I'm hearing, or some fiscal issues.
Every year it seems like there's fiscal issues, so and that's government. That is the problem with state government, is that, we don't know how to live within our means. We tend to just, however much revenue there is, that's how much we want to spend, instead of talking about really what do we need to deliver to the people, what are the services the people need, and do that. But instead we start first on the revenue side and say, how much revenue do I have to spend? And I spend every nickel. And so I've done a lot of things like focusing on dedicated funds. Why should we have $4 billion of the state budget all, squirreled away right off the top with a lot of things that maybe people wouldn't support today as they supported 30 years ago. Maybe it was a great idea, maybe today it's not. And so, I've been leading an effort over the last 3 or 4 years to eliminate a lot of those dedicated funds so that everybody would compete for funding on a level playing field. This term I chair the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee, and so my focus has been on a lot of other issues like elections. That's certainly an important topic. I also oversee all of the governor's appointments, through the Senate confirmation process. And I'll also be leading the redistricting effort this year and next year. It looks like it may spill into next year.
Oh, wow.
Which is, really important. That basically sets the framework for the next 10 years in terms of, how we're governed in our state and who our leaders will be.
A lot of people think of terms of politics. They think in terms of national politics, where everybody is more divided on ideologies. But what I find in our state is that our legislators tend to be a little bit more united than what people realize. What unites the legislature more than anything right now?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that we agree on. That the end in mind is usually pretty easy. We want better education for our children. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants that. Our ideas on how we accomplish that are always what's different.
Different, yeah.
Yeah. Certainly sexual harassment has been a hot topic in these last couple of weeks. I've passed a number of pieces of legislation on sexual harassment. Everybody wants a safe place to work.
Right.
Everybody wants their children to go to school and to be safe. Whether it's in college or K through 12 education, right. We want our children to be safe. And so there's a number of things. We want better roads. We all want those things. And so it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it and what can we afford to do, and separating out the needs from the wants. What do we need to deliver, and what would we like to have are kind of two different things. And I think if we had more clarity on those two questions, we'd be more laser focused on the most important things for state government to do, and let the locals, deal with some of the other issues that are more discretionary.
You've discussed within your legislation, which I want to share with everybody else that's watching today, and what you have. I think you got 5 pieces of legislation coming through now. Would you like to share that with us and tell us about it, so people, because I want more people to get involved, and I always tell people they can go on the website and watch all the committee meetings and watch all this legislation going through, but I want to put it on their radar what the positive things that you're doing for our state. I think you got some good stuff coming up. Will you share that with us?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Probably the hottest topic around the country is election integrity. And so I'm actually honored to serve on a national commission. It's called the National Election Integrity Commission, done by RSLC. And we are looking at best practices from states all around the country. Some are blue states, some are red states. They still have good ideas to share. Yeah. And we've put together kind of a package of about 14 ideas and some legislation that would help support that. For example, we know the federal government has proposed in their H.R. 1 bill some, in my opinion, devastating legislation that is completely contrary to everything that I believe in terms of good elections. So what's being proposed in Congress and has already passed the U.S. House has to do with, 100% universal mail balloting, no voter ID, same-day registration, ballot drop boxes, ballot harvesting, no witness signatures. I mean, all of those things are things that we have fought against in Louisiana.
And they're ripe for fraud.
So, not only will I be working with our congressional delegation, hopefully, to defeat that, and that bill is in the U.S. Senate now, but we in the states see that it is going to be our responsibility then to be a backstop for good election laws. And we do a lot of things well in Louisiana in terms of elections, but there's definitely some areas where, we could do better.
Right.
You can always have better processes for, managing your voter records, so that you don't have dead people still on the records.
Exactly.
And so we know that that's an issue. There are things that you can do to make your absentee balloting process even a little bit more secure, so that, the person that's voting the absentee ballot is a registered voter and someone that's supposed to vote. Because at the end of the day, you want to make it easier to vote and harder to cheat.
Ah, that's a great way to put it.
And so
I like that.
That's what we're working towards. There have been some issues that have been raised in the bid proposal for new election machines in Louisiana. So we know we have very old machines They're getting harder to find replacement parts. They're breaking down, as you would expect. And so we need new machines. And I will have, legislation. There have been a few issues that have been raised in that process, in that debate, I will say, between the Secretary of State, some of the participating vendors, the Office of State Procurement have raised some issues that I hope to address in some legislation, and will be very active in participating in the process by which we choose the election machines that we're going to have to live with for the next 20
years, right?
So that's a $100 million contract, taxpayer dollars. We just want to make sure that we're doing things that take advantage of the very best thinking available in the country on the type of technology you want to have that's secure, that's safe, that's accurate, because again, that's what we all want. So I will have one bill on election.
One bill helping us for election integrity. I love that.
One bill on election integrity, and I'll be working to put together a package really with some other legislators that are going to help me with different parts of this. I'm also championing closed party primaries. I lead the task force on closed party primaries. And so, just as we do with the presidential election, Republicans vote in a primary to select their candidate, Democrats vote in a primary to select their candidate, and then they run in the general election against others that are not affiliated with either party. We're talking about doing that for the other federal elections, which are the congressional races. There's 30-something states that have closed party primaries. Louisiana, as you know, does a jungle primary where it's kind of a free-for-all and everybody against everybody. And so, we'll see. But the task force still needs to meet one last time and debate the issue. And, the devil's always in the details, exactly how you do it. And so there's
what goes in the committee might come out looking like something different out of committee.
You never know. But we've done a lot of research and a lot of debate on that topic, and so I will have a bill, that helps to address that. I also have a bill on carbon sequestration.
Yeah, this interests me. I think everybody should look at this too.
Yeah, so sequestration is kind of a fancy word meaning capture, and so what this bill would do would, allow companies to capture the carbon that they would emit in the air, which contributes to greenhouse gases. So we want to try to limit that. It would give them some incentives for capturing that. We cool it to condense it into a liquid. It gets transported through pipelines, and we have a huge amount of pipelines in Louisiana because of our oil and gas business.
We love pipelines.
And then inject it in depleted oil and gas reservoirs, our water sands that are no longer needed. And so basically what this does is it stores it underground and prevents it from being in the air. So it's a very good policy from an environmental standpoint. It's also a great business opportunity for the state because companies all over the world are looking for ways to do that. And we are sitting here with such an extensive oil and gas infrastructure that we're 10 steps ahead of most other states in being able to do that. And there are federal incentives available right now for companies to do it. And so I will have a bill that kind of helps to establish the framework for how we do that. But that's really exciting, and there's tremendous interest in that bill from folks all around the country.
It sounds to me like that could be something that could not only help our environment, but it's something that could help produce some jobs. At the same time, help oil companies be able to keep producing oil and gas in a safer way in our to preserve our environment in a way that we get everybody on board to help our economy.
It's a win-win, absolutely. Another bill that I'm looking at is an economic development opportunity here in my area. Your listeners may have heard that there's been a casino entertainment, district proposed in the Slidell area on the lakefront. What this bill would do would basically just give the people the right to vote.
Right.
And so, what we've said is, we want the developer to get public input for people to have ideas that they would share and concerns that they have, that the developer would provide, some ideas on how to mitigate that, put the very best proposal possible on the table, and then let the people vote.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what this bill will do, is just to kind of frame that up so people can vote on it.
I like that. You're giving the people a choice in this matter.
Rarely do people get a choice on economic development. Sometimes you end up with economic development in your community that you don't like,
Right.
or that you don't want, but you never get a chance to vote on it. So this is kind of a rare opportunity to get to vote on it. It's going to create 1,900 jobs, lots of revenue, both locally and statewide. So we'll see. I think it's part of my job is to bring economic development to the area. And when people get a chance to have input, I think it's even better. The last bill I'm looking at is kind of a patriotism bill. It'll be a bill on the national anthem that would require it to be played before any large events. And so we're kind of working on how to define that. But I think, when I look at when tragedies have happened in our country, the tremendous amount of patriotism that happens, around those events. Do you remember this? Like after the planes flew into the Twin Towers, every car had an American flag on it.
Everybody unites under tragedy.
You do. You unite because you pull together and you say, our country is special and we're here to support it. And I just think it's a great reminder that sometimes we forget about all the men and women who have fought and died in defending our freedoms. And there's a lot of things that we won't agree on, and hopefully many things that we do agree on. But I hope that we all can agree that this is still the very best country in the world.
Absolutely.
And paying tribute, at large events together, I think just reminds us to be united in that belief.
I like that.
And when you believe that, I think then you can, solve an awful lot of problems. And so it's just kind of a feel-good, patriotic bill, but I think it's something that maybe we've kind of forgotten about.
I agree with you because it tends, like you said, after tragedies, everybody unites, under the flag. And if we have something that reminds us of that flag and what unites us as a country, maybe we can all start coming together a little bit more on issues that unite us instead of dividing us.
I hope so. I mean, I feel that way, and I think a lot of other people do too.
Senator Hewitt, thank you so much. I want to make sure there's any parting words that you want to share with people, or is there anything that you want to remind some people of?
Well, I guess I would say in closing, we're going to have the Capitol open during session. There will be lots of opportunities for public input. I'm encouraging people to get a vaccine. We're all getting vaccines, those of us that meet the qualifications, which is almost everybody now.
Right, yeah.
And so, there are ways to follow us in what we're doing at the Capitol. You can go to legis.la.gov. And you can follow any committee hearing, you can follow any debate on the Senate or the House floor, either in real time or after the fact. Everything is recorded by video. And if you want to follow me, I do lots of work on social media. I have an email list. You can go to SharonHewitt.com and stay kind of in tune with the things that I'm working on as session goes on. I do usually a weekly video every week during session that just kind of gives people a feel, kind of like what's happening behind the scenes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which might be a little different than what you read about in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And so if you want kind of the unvarnished view, you might log on to SharonHewitt.com and sign up for my email list, and you'll get all those videos and all that stuff.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I think everybody needs to keep in touch more with you and watch out on your website more. Senator Hewitt, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And everybody else, as you can see, we got some good information out in this video. Please share it with everybody that you can so that way other people can be informed just like you. Thank you so much and have a great day.